In this clip, Matt Walsh talks about one of the greatest weapons our culture uses in the war on boys.
Boys are twice as likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. By high school, 20% of boys, 20%, I say again, 20% are diagnosed. Yet we never stop to ask ourselves why boys are more susceptible to this mysterious mental condition. We never stop to consider that perhaps we're not so much diagnosing boys as we are diagnosing boyhood. If the school system was not predicated on sitting still and memorizing things for 7 or 8 hours at a time, and it need not be, there would be no ADHD. Back in the old agrarian societies, for example, they didn't have ADHD. It didn't exist. Why? Well, because it wasn't a problem back then for a boy to have lots of physical energy. In fact, it was necessary that he did. Now it is a problem because we want him to sit still for the first 18 years of his life and memorize information, and so we call it ADHD. And you really have to ask yourself, if the system cannot function without drugging a quarter of the kids in its care, then is there a problem with our kids or is there a problem with the system?
Yep, that's a big one. There's a lot of problems with the modern education system, but that's a huge one, right? Like,
Yep.
We don't need to go through, like education doesn't need to be set up so that you fucking hate it. Like, it doesn't need to be that way.
Right.
Like, I remember, like, I would just get so bored in school. Like, the only way I like managed to keep myself like amused is like I would just try and come up with questions that would stump the teacher, or like questions that I knew I could. Like, I was an expert at getting teachers to go on tangents so that they would stop teaching and trying to get me to like memorize shit, and I would just get them to rant about something, or yeah. And like people, like guys, like people in my class would actually be like, "Oh yeah, I got Quep in the class. We're not going to learn shit."
That's great.
So, like, but that's because like I could find pleasure in that kind of intellectual activity. And the thing is, like, a lot of guys can't. A lot of guys just like they're not built for just constant intellectual work. Some guys can do it. Some guys can be trained into it. Everyone can be kind of trained into it to some degree, but some guys are just very resistant to it. They're built for physical activity, right? They're meant to be like doing stuff with their hands. They're meant to be like, you know, they would be better served like learning like mechanical engineering hands-on rather than doing like just sitting there and like getting presidents' names like shoved into their face, right? And so one of the things that I think we got to do, like even as adults, is figure out like, do I need to like just move more? Do I need to like be more hands-on with shit? There's still a lot of guys out there are looking for that white collar like dream job. They're trying to figure out like, oh, how can I, be able to just go into an office or maybe work from home and just get paid this big fat paycheck doing something easy. When I think a lot of guys would actually be better served to like learn a real trade and like go out and do it, right? Like there was, I may have mentioned this before, but there was like this guy who was, I can't remember where the hell I saw it. Well, I got two stories about it, but like one of them was like there was this guy who just got big making like draining septic tanks, and he would go around all day hooking up the equipment and like sucking the shit out of the septic tank, moving to the next one, that sort of thing. And he made bank. He made a lot of money. Okay, like doing like dirty jobs, like Mike Rowe style. Like if you're willing to go into business doing that kind of thing, guess what? You're not gonna have a ton of competition. And if you got a little like business acumen, you can make a killer living. Same with like, just other basic like hands-on stuff, like being like a, an electrician, plumber. Like those things are serious careers. And guys who are they just want to move, they want to do stuff. That's a great thing to do. Okay, and yeah, I remember one time I was just talking to this guy who came to like haul some junk out of my garage, and he was like a big talker and stuff like that, and he was saying like, yeah, I love my job. It's a little tough in the winter, when it gets cold and things like that, but man, I can't sit still all day. He was like, I need to be getting up, moving around, doing stuff. And so it's like, find stuff to do that. There's ways to make like lots of money being that guy. And so like for those of you out there who are feeling stuck, like, I don't know what I want to do. Like maybe you're actually just a repressed, physically active man who needs to get out there and start moving and working with your hands. If you've never done any like work with your hands, well, figure out a way to do it. Like, I feel like so many guys today, like if they grew up in like an urban environment and shit like that, they've like never even done like yard work or something like that, right? And there's for sure a sense of satisfaction to be found in doing that kind of thing. I've got a buddy of mine who actually just like, you know, he like bought a property, and then he's like just like digging up the whole backyard, landscaping it, did a whole bunch of work inside the house, and he has been loving it. It's been like a hobby for him, and he's going to be able to turn it into like a rental property, and he might even like do more of that kind of stuff. So like give yourself the opportunity to try working with your physical hands. Like me, I can enjoy that work, but I'm definitely someone who is more adept at the intellectual space, which is great. You know, the internet offers people like myself a lot of opportunity, and you see me and this is what I'm doing. But a lot of guys just aren't cut out for this kind of stuff, and that's fine. Okay? Like the world needs the other types of people. So, you know, embrace that kind of stuff. I imagine you, Pete, you probably, where do you fall? You seem more of like the hands-on kind of guy.
Definitely, you know, I think everybody needs some, you know, and you do some pretty intense kettlebell workouts where you're going, you know, 10 minutes at a time, swinging around, you know, weights almost as heavy as me. So it's like, you got to have that in your life, you know, one way or another. And it's great to do something, like I said earlier, where you're getting that in, but you're also doing something really productive. You're doing something that's helping somebody else out. You're doing something that helps you out. You know, you're landscaping your own yard. You're landscaping somebody else's yard. I think you're on the money that every guy should at least try it and find some way to get some physical activity into their life, because it's definitely necessary.
Yeah.